Okay, so let's just get right into it. Today, we're gonna perform a little post-mortem on a blockbuster that was meant to be this legendary reboot. You know, something to redefine the entire franchise. But instead, it ended up being one of the biggest sci-fi disappointments in recent memory. Yep, we're talking about TRON, ARES.
I mean, just listen to that pitch. Matrix meets Blade Runner? Come on. The promise here was absolutely massive. We were sold this incredible, high-concept journey into the nature of AI and humanity itself. The hype was completely off the charts. Seriously, I think everyone went into the theater expecting to have their minds blown.
And that, right there, is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? How does a movie with that much going for it, a huge budget, a beloved legacy, incredible concepts, how does it just fall completely and totally flat? Well, let's pop the hood and see what went wrong with the code. So first things first, let's talk about that promise. On paper, TRON ARES was perfectly set up to be this sleek, super modern reinvention of the whole TRON universe. The whole idea was about an AI program escaping the grid and coming into our world. You've got this emotional story with massive sci-fi implications. That is a killer premise. But what we actually got in theaters, well, it wasn't that. Not even close. The critical consensus was pretty overwhelming. The film was a beautiful but empty shell. It was all style, absolutely no substance. Just a spectacular misfire that completely failed to live up to its own potential. And here's the thing, the problems weren't just on the surface. They were hardwired right into the film's source code. When you really dig into it, all the critiques point to two fundamental system failures, a broken script and hollow characters. Okay, let's start with the script, which is basically the movie's operating system, and man was it buggy. Instead of exploring all those cool, deep themes they promised, it just defaulted to this generic, recycled plot with dialogue that felt like it was written by an algorithm. And the characters, oh boy. Critics called them digital ghosts. They had no emotional core, no growth, which gives you, the audience, absolutely zero reason to care about them. And this right here, this just says it all. The gap between what they promised and what they delivered is just massive. We were supposed to get a deep dive into digital consciousness. We got a generic superhero plot. An emotional story replaced by cold robotic performances. And you know that one jaw-dropping wow moment every movie like this needs? Buried under so much boring exposition that it never even had a chance to show up. You know, if there was one word that I saw over and over again in basically every review, it was this one, soulless. And it's just the perfect description, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that feeling of watching something that is technically brilliant, looks amazing, but it's just hollow. It's a brutal word to use, but for this movie, it absolutely fits. Just take a second and let that quote really sink in. This was a movie all about what it means to be human, told from the perspective of an AI. And it somehow ended up feeling colder and more mechanical than the actual lines of code on screen. That's not just a small mistake, that is a catastrophic storytelling failure.
All right, so let's move on because this all connects to the next major issue. You might be thinking, okay, the story's a mess, but TRON is all about the visuals, right? Surely the spectacle saved it. Well, the resounding answer to that was no. It was what you call a hollow spectacle. All of its energy went into looking cool, and there's nothing left for anything else.
And this quote just nails it. Don't get me wrong, the movie looked incredible. A total neon-drenched masterpiece from a design perspective. But it was all surface. Without a real story or characters to care about, those amazing visuals just felt empty, you know? It was like the world's most expensive screensaver. You look at it, you go, ooh, pretty, and then you completely forget about it. And the list of issues just kept piling up. It leaned way too hard on nostalgia, with callbacks that just felt empty and unearned. It was fan service without any of the actual love behind it. But maybe the most damning criticism of all, for a huge blockbuster like this, despite the budget, despite the action, the film was just kind of boring. But hey, look, to be fair, it wasn't a total system failure. Even the movie's biggest critics found a few lines of good code in the wreckage. So let's give credit where it's due and talk about the few things TRON ARES actually got right. First, that visual design. As I said, absolutely stunning. The world of TRON has never looked better, period. Second, the score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross was, no surprise, a masterpiece. It was powerful, atmospheric, just perfect. And lastly, every once in a while, you'd get these little flickers, these tiny sparks of what could have been, showing you that a much better movie was buried in there somewhere.
So when you put it all together, the failed story, the empty spectacle, those few glimmers of brilliance, where does that leave us? What's the final verdict on the entire TRON ARES experiment? It really all comes down to this number, a 5 out of 10. And that's almost worse than being terrible, isn't it? It's perfectly, painfully average. It's not even a glorious disaster you can have fun with. It's just the absolute definition of a cinematic misfire. Honestly, I don't think you could summarize the entire film any better than this. It had all the pieces on the outside, right? The incredible lights, that amazing sound, the sheer spectacle of it all. But that one crucial component, the thing that makes it all work, the soul, it just wasn't there. And really, that's the final word. A neon dream that just flatlined. It was a movie that promised us something profound and game-changing, but in the end, its digital heartbeat just faded to nothing. All that was left was a beautiful but completely lifeless corpse on the server.
So this whole thing leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond just TRON ARES. Is spectacular style ever enough to save a story with no soul? Can a visual masterpiece ever really work if there's nothing at its core? I'd really love to know what you think.